My friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is David, and we have a tag for Tag Tuesday. We haven't done a tag on Tag Tuesday in a while, but I felt the urge. I actually just watched tag that Steve Donahue did just the other day, the end of the year book tag, the 2023 edition. I think I've done this the last 2 years. I think I've usually done it a little earlier than mid-November, but here we are. So there's 6 questions, one of which is going to be a complete non-start. But let's just get started. Question number 1. Are there any books you've started this year that you need to finish? Okay, so this is kind of what I'm currently reading. So I am almost 2/3 of the way through Musashi by Yaeji Yoshikawa. I'm really enjoying it. It's a very slow read because it is a very thick book. It just doesn't look thick because it's on my Kindle. I don't actually own a physical copy of this, but I've been plugging away at this for about a month, maybe a month and a half now. So at the pace I'm going, I should be able to be done before the end of the year. And I'm not in a hurry. It is not my priority read, but I'm always happy to pick it up and lose myself in it for 30 to 60 minutes if I get a chance. I am about 1/3 of the way through Lana of Githal. This is book number 10 in the Mars series. So there's 11 books in the series. I am on number 10. And I'm enjoying it. There's no surprise there. I'm enjoying it immensely. Okay. I am buddy reading through the Book of the New Sun with my good friend Scott Danielson. And we are into book 2. We're about halfway through book 2. We should finish book 2 by the end of November. And I imagine we'll be able to plod through book 3 in the course of December, and probably book 4 sometime in January, maybe early February. But absolutely enjoyable. I'm loving this probably above anything else at the moment that I'm currently in the middle of. I'm chipping away at another Asimov, so some short stories. I've already read the title story here, Unicorn Variation by Roger Zelazny, and loved it. Really, really enjoyable. I was mulling around when to do it, but I'm starting to track my short stories, and I'm kind of ranking them in there. So I think every 50 I get to in there, I'm going to talk about my top 5. When I get to 100, I'll talk about my top 10, which will include those previous 50, and so on and so forth. So I think 50 is a good round number. I'm not going to be able to talk about every book that I read, but I'll have like a Google Doc spreadsheet where you can open it up, and if you want to see the titles and authors of everything that I've read on that list, you'll be able to see them. So I'm chipping away. And then my comic book right now is this absolutely fabulous, lovely, gorgeous edition. This is the Penguin Classics Marvel Collection. This is the Captain America. And my goodness, what a wonderful production this is. Probably about 1/3 of the way into it, maybe a quarter. And enjoying every minute of it. So those are the things I am currently in the middle of. And I expect most of those, except for Musashi, to be done by the end of this month-ish, especially with the holiday weekend in there. I should be able to get a little bit of reading done. So question 2 is the throwaway question. Do you have any autumnal books to transition to the end of the year? No. Why? Why? I've never understood that question, but again, I'm not the type of reader that lets the season or anything like that dictate what I want to read. So question 3, is there a new release that you are still waiting for? And in years past, that answer has been a really challenging one to come up with. Unfortunately, or maybe it's fortunately, I don't know, you tell me, Steve Donahue is around. And so I get exposed to a lot more new releases than ever before. And so I have a list of books that have either come out or are coming out soon, and one that comes out in January next year that are on my horizon. So let's talk about a couple of them. So we have Remembrance. So these are selected correspondence of Ray Bradbury. So these are going to be his letters and other correspondence that he had. And yes, I'm very, very interested. It's Ray Bradbury. It's going to be outstanding. I did pull up, I got a sample of each of these books onto my Kindle for the purpose of this video. See, I'm doing some prep work. You're a bad influence, Steve. Battle for the Island Kingdom. So this is England's Destiny, 1000 through 1066. This is by Don Hallway, who is the author of The Last Viking, which also sounds like a book that I very much would be interested in and would very much like to get a copy of and read. But this sounds exactly like my jam right here. Not that the Ray Bradbury letters weren't. All of these are going to be very much in my wheelhouse, which is why they're on this list. The one that is probably the biggest unknown for me, but is one that I want to check out. So this is Justinian. This is by Peter Saris. And this is Emperor, Soldier, Saint. So this is about the Emperor Justinian, who was Emperor of the Byzantines, which was a Middle Ages empire that I have very, very little knowledge about and would love to learn more. I don't think this is probably the best starting point, but you have to start somewhere. This is a new release. I'd be interested. If you have recommendations on a Justinian era history book that I should check out, let me know in the comments, because I'm very curious to learn more about the Justinian Empire. So I think we've got 3 more. Bear with me, my Kindle's a little on the slower side. It's not one of those fancy pants ones. So let's see here. 2 more. So we have American Vikings. So this is How the Norse Sailed into the Lands and Imaginations of America. Again, Vikings. Very much my wheelhouse. Martin Whittock. So I'm absolutely interested in that. The one that I can't pull up because there's no sample to send yet is Wolves of Winter by Dan Jones, which is book 2 in the Essex Dogs series. I read Essex Dogs earlier this year and absolutely loved every minute of it. It reminded me in all the right ways of Bernard Cornwell. And so, of course, book 2 coming out. I'm very interested in book 2, but it doesn't get here until end of January. But the last, but certainly by no means the least, the Letters of J.R.R. Tolkien. So this is a revised and expanded edition. It basically added, I think, something like 100 more letters in here from the previous edition. A lot more notes and commentary. I no longer have a copy of Letters of Tolkien. I think I've got an ebook of the previous edition. But I need this hardcover on that shelf back then. Well, my Tolkien's now over here, but I need that with my Tolkien stuff. So, those are the new releases that I'm waiting for. And at least 1 or 2 of those may end up on my holiday wish list if people ask for holiday wish lists. Maybe all of them will. Who knows? So, question number 4. 3 books that you want to read by the end of the year. And so I've got a couple of things that are not books as well, but I do have 3 books that I want to read by the end of the year. So book 1 here is John Carter of Mars. This is number 11 in the Mars series, and I think this might be 157 pages. So this is one of the shorter ones, and I mean all of them are 200-ish or less. So this should be a nice fitting conclusion to the Barsoom series. I'm excited to get to the end of it. Not because I'm not enjoying it, but because it'll feel good to be done with the series, especially a longer series, so that I am ready to roll into Zelazny 2024 and read the Chronicles of Amber, starting with book 3, because I think about a year-ish ago I read books 1 and 2, so I don't need to revisit them yet. Another series that I need to finish, I'm one book away from finishing. This is going to take a little bit of time. So this is The Rise of Endymion by Dan Simmons. I don't know why I keep putting it off. Probably because I know it's going to take longer to get through, being 700-ish pages than, multiple other books that I could grab. But I do want to see this series get to its end by the end of the year because, well, I've got Ilium and Olympos sitting on my shelf saying, hey, when you finish up with the Hyperion Cantos, you've still got this duology that you could jump right into, and there's almost 2,000 pages worth of that duology there. So I won't be done with Dan Simmons, by no means, because he's establishing himself firmly as one of my favorites. And then the last one, so there's the Winter of Wyndham event coming up by my good friend Gareth at Book Songs and Other Magic. So I'm going to read The Midwich Cuckoos. So this is going to be my other really short and easy read. And I want the short and easy reads because I'll still probably be in the middle of Musashi. And if I pick up Endymion, The Rise of Endymion, I'll be reading that for a lot of it. So I need a couple of smaller books to just be able to grind out along the way. So, my magazine short stories that I'm chipping away at. I'm grabbing a different one each year, or each month. So I'm going to jump into fantasy and science fiction. So this is the 56th anniversary issue. This is a thicker issue to kind of offset those shorties in there. But, I mean, it's got Peter S. Beagle, it's got Joe Haldeman, it's got Gene Wolfe in here. So it's going to have a lot of stories, some staying power here. So it's got 3 novelettes. The Calorie Man by Paolo Bacigalupi, Help Wanted by Matthew Hughes, and Two Hearts by Peter S. Beagle. And then a whole bunch of short stories. Scott Poem by Terry Pratchett in here. So yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into that. And then for comics, I'll probably finish Captain America by the end of this month. And so before I jump back to Superman, because I will get back to Men of Steel, maybe even by the end of the year, I do want to get to Batman Year One, so that I can read the one Batman that is on my shelf, and be able to enjoy it, hopefully. And before going into Superman, I figure I should get back to some mutants. I've got a pairing here, Part 1 and Part 2 of Final Execution for Uncanny X-Force, that I had picked up when I was getting ones for trying to read a whole bunch of really prominent storylines, and that one was one that was recommended. So I picked those up, and I'd like to get to reading those. So question 5, are there any books that could shock you and be your favorite of the year? And I remember in years past I watched a lot more BookTube because I had a lot more time that I spent just listening to BookTube at work. And I remember hearing so many people at that question being like, no, I don't think any of these could be my favorite book of the year. I'm like, why read them then? If you don't think you're going to love the book, why? Pick something different. Pick something that could be a favorite for you. So, of course, Midwich Cuckoos could be a favorite of the year. I know the Gene Wolfe has become a favorite of the year. The last book in the Hyperion Cantos, it'd be hard-pressed to top Hyperion, but maybe it could be my second favorite in the Hyperion Cantos, which would firmly put it at my favorite, among my favorites of the year. And Musashi, I'm loving it to pieces. It could be a favorite for me. I'd love to be surprised by Lana of Gathol or John Carter of Mars and have one of those become my favorite Barsoom series. So yeah. And then last but not least, number 6, have you started making reading plans for next year yet? No. I don't plan like that. It goes awry when I try to. I had the briefest of wild hairs of, oh man, I Roger's Cheap Old Book Club, maybe I should consider, picking out 12 books, one per month, and then, I can announce it now and people can pick up a copy and read along with me. And I do want to do that. But if I'm going to do that, I'm going to be announcing it like the month before for the next book, or maybe a couple weeks before. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling about mid-December. And if you are interested in something like that, let me know. I'd love to Voxer chat, even if not doing something formal. I've got the one that I probably would do for January. I've got Exhalation by Ted Chiang on my shelf that Gareth was just talking about in one of his videos when he was talking about his favorite science fiction books. And I was like, I still need to read that. Maybe I should read that soon. So yeah, if you want a buddy read Exhalation, let me know. I'd love to Voxer about it because I found with, Greg from Another Bibliophile Read, there's nothing more fun with a short story collection than chatting back and forth with somebody as you're reading the stories. So anyway, I've gone off long enough. There's the end of the year book tag. If you have not done it yet, consider doing it. It's easy. It's nice being able to see what people are excited about, the books that they're still trying to get done, and to hear, if they have them, plans for next year. The other potential thing for next year is doing something Tolkien. I've already opened that line of communication to somebody that I'd love to do an event or some kind of a read with, but they don't plan ahead for 2024 either. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, that's enough prattling on by me. I will catch you later.